You don't have to be a fighting game fan to have heard the name Street Fighter. It's been around for a long time and is back seeking to regain its throne in the FGC with this latest showing. Street Fighter 6 is the most promising entry in the series. It comes at a time where Capcom is putting out some of the best work they've ever done. With their new impressive RE engine, I was looking forward to how they would advance the formula. The last time I was interested in a Street Fighter was back in Street Fighter 4 in the 360 and PS3 era. I even used to love the vanilla port that we got on the 3DS, but after that we got Street Fighter 5. That game was not good at launch, the most bare bones fighting game you can get, but eventually it turned out to grow into a solid game. With that turnaround, I expected a new Street Fighter to have some potential going in. It goes without saying, Street Fighter 6 is a massive improvement from Capcom's last outing. Filled to the brim with content, a heavy emphasis on single player, and packed with a new drive system, this is Capcom's most ambitious title in the series yet.
Hold it. Don't touch anything here.
The newest and most ambitious mode is the addition of World Tour, Capcom's take at a fighting game single player story mixed in with some RPG elements. Also new to the series is the ability to create your own character who you can take through the story in quest of finding true strength. The mode is a big leap forward for Street Fighter single player content, finally catching up to other games like Mortal Kombat in that regard. The story takes your character to two main cities in Metro City and Aishou, where there are plenty of activities to keep you busy. Although there are a lot more countries to fly to, they're mostly just very small areas with a main roster member and not much else. Throughout your journey, you'll run into new and familiar world warriors, become their student, and gain access to their fighting styles and moves. The more you use that style and fight other NPCs with character specific styles, the more you rank them up, giving you access to more moves from that master's moveset. You can take those and then mix and match with other special moves and super arts to find some crazy and fun combinations. Oh, and you shouldn't worry about only using one style and not upgrading the others. This is because you can continue using their style and transfer all the access experience to another master. A good call by Capcom. Another form of progression is building a bond with a master, which happens as your style ranks up or by giving them gifts. This will reward you with artwork, a costume, but more importantly for me was the interesting background information about them, helping build the characters of Street Fighter like never before. Now, I do wish the main roster played a bigger role in the story so we can further see them interact with each other and the world around them, but that doesn't really happen often. Instead, focusing solely on your fighter. So those little lore bits and artwork really did a lot for me in that regard. More of that, please. You'll also be collecting gear to obtain perks and improve your stats. There's a good variety of cosmetics here, allowing you to find many combinations that best suit you. The skill tree is pretty basic. It has probably a couple abilities, but the rest are just stat boosts and ways to make things more cost efficient, which can be a little handy as you'll need currency called Zenny to buy gear, gifts, items, and permabuffs. You'll mainly be making money through the mini games called part-time jobs, which there are 5 different kinds, all which are fun and discreetly show you how to play the game, like trying to learn the perfect parry timing, learning different motions, or even learning how to do charge inputs. These help break up the constant fighting you'll be doing. I initially thought that the fighting would get repetitive and boring after a while, but surprisingly, I enjoyed my time doing so throughout the game, changing my style and exploring different special move combinations to keep things fresh. Now, the actual story itself isn't very good. A lot of it feels like filler in between your primary objective, and even that doesn't feel focused enough for me to care. And that ending, it just sort of happens. I was sitting there thinking to myself, is that really it? Now, it doesn't take itself too seriously, so it is meant to be more of a lighthearted story, but by the end, when they attempt more serious themes, it just didn't feel fulfilling. Looking past that, completing the story and the majority of the side quests took me about 23 hours, which is way lengthier than I would have expected. So there's some decent bang for your buck here if that's all you're looking for. World Tour is but one example of Capcom's smart attempt at catering towards new and casual players. Character guides and combo trials aid newcomers to get an idea of what a fighter is capable of, providing advice on how to pilot them. The training mode also has so many options to help you recreate situations so you can learn from your mistakes. It even includes frame data so you can learn with plus on block to punish a button mashing opponent or find out what moves you should respect. Individually ranked characters is a great call, aiding in removing the fear of getting destroyed online, whether you're just starting your online journey or just trying something new. It encourages you to try new characters, matching you with people around your skill level on a character by character basis. I personally know people that were on the fence about getting the game, who normally wouldn't touch fighters, let alone Street Fighter, but made the jump over because of modern controls and how it removed the need to learn 6 buttons and manual inputs. Modern and dynamic controls are great additions for those who want a simpler way to just jump in, play the game, and not spend too much time breaking down a character's entire kit. Speaking of characters, one of the most important elements of a fighting game is having characters players can connect with and really make feel like your own. The decently sized roster has 11 returning world warriors like Ryu, Ken, Chun-Li, and 7 new up-and-comers like Jamie, Kimberly, and Manon. The new characters are some of the best in the Street Fighter game. I'm interested in nearly all of them, and have since jumped in a lab to try them all. Their designs are all really good and exude personality. Even the smaller details like the faces they make before a match adds personality to a character. There's a diverse roster that covers many archetypes and playstyles. Ken, the more aggressive Shoto aiming to pick up the pace and get you into a corner fast. Ryu, the standard all-rounder with a strong ground game and big damage. Guile, the more projectile heavy and defensive kit that has good reaching normals. Jamie, with good medium range buttons that lead into high damaging combos the more he fuels up. Grapplers like Manon and Geef who try to get up close and personal. I'm sure vets and newcomers alike would find a main they can resonate with. So how about the, well, fighting? It's probably the most fun I've ever had in any Street Fighter.
You never learn, do you?
With Street Fighter V, I wasn't a fan of its gameplay, especially V-Trigger. Having character mechanics walled off and then available to use for like 10 seconds during a match, it just didn't do it for me. I wanted to learn my bread and butters, get online, and not spend all those extra hours learning a combo I'll maybe get to do once a set, if I'm lucky. But with a new game, brings new mechanics. The drive system is Street Fighter 6's addition to the iconic fighter formula. You start with a full drive meter every round, so the meter management between rounds is gone, with the exception of supers or critical arts that can help change the tide of battle. Separating your super meter and your EX skills was a great call in my opinion. You actively decide if you want to spend drive meter for the extra damage or reserve it to make a follow-up play. The new system introduces Drive Rush, Drive Parry, Drive Impact, Drive Reversal, and Burnout. Drive Rush reminds me almost of a MKX run mechanic. It's a great addition to speed up the pace of the game, a great tool for closing the gap, extending the range of your normals, getting those extra plus frames, or just extending your combos. You can also cancel Drive Rush when landing a hit, allowing you to extend it, turning a low mid-range poke into a devastating combo. Drive Parry is also a welcome addition, harkening back to the days of Street Fighter 3. It doesn't feel as good to utilize here mainly because of the recovery window, but a perfect parry on the other hand can create some hype moments. I personally wish the scaling wasn't so bad for perfect parries, as I feel that they should be rewarded and not penalized for landing the tight timing. It'd be better to me if they gave you full damage and just scaled things like command throws. Now, Drive Impact is the controversial new addition where the fanbase seems split on. It's a powerful tool that can change the tide of the fight. It has decent range, 2 points of armor, making it dangerous to throw moves out against, and can wall splat you when blocked at a corner, leaving you open to attacks. It's slow enough where you can react to, but also does add to the mental stack. But I love the addition of the mechanic, and enjoy not only having a new option, but also something to keep an eye out for, constantly making me think of the possibilities me or my opponent can go for. Drive Reversal serves almost like an alpha counter. It's a way for you to spend meter to create some space between you and your opponent. Right now, it feels a bit expensive to use. I hope they tweak the cost to make it more of an enticing option. Exhausting your drive gauge causes you to fall into burnout, giving you no access to those previously mentioned mechanics. No EX moves, you start taking chip damage, opens the possibility of dying from said chip, and if you get drive impacted in the corner, you'll get stunned, giving your opponent enough time to bust out a full devastating combo. The corner already feels like a huge threat in this game, and that just adds to it. You really want to avoid getting burnt out, but it's not all over as you still do full damage and have access to the majority of your kit. Mixing in the new tools you'll be using often to pick up the pace and mix up your opponent will lead to some exhilarating fights. If I had one slight nitpick in the gameplay, it would probably be the throw ranges and their speed. All in all, I still do enjoy the neutral game. In the past, there were concerns people had about Street Fighter V, things like input lag and skill expression. Capcom has made many strides there, and it's great to see them take a step in the right direction, improving on those fronts, even giving players the option in the settings to help reduce input lag. The even more forgiving input buffer and the lack of one-frame links in Street Fighter VI helps further solidify their focus to newcomers. This makes combos easier to perform compared to other Street Fighters. I think this is a step in the right direction, and while I do enjoy how impressive it is to see someone do a long combo that involves multiple one-frame links, I much rather have a game that doesn't frustrate me with its unnecessarily absurd timing requirements. Now, as of this recording, and this can be anecdotal, I do see a lot of common combos, and that's sometimes to be expected as people optimize, but it makes me worry just a bit about the creativity and skill expression of the game. But ultimately, we'll just have to see how that turns out as people discover and dig deeper into the game, along with whatever changes Capcom makes in the future. But compared to Street Fighter V, the game so far feels like it's still open enough to see new, wild, complex combos. Those are just some small nitpicks that I've seen online, but overall I enjoy the fighting at its core like I've never had before. There are still additional modes left to talk about, like the Battle Hub, where you can take your created avatar. I mentioned creating one before, but I gotta say that the character customization is really good. There's many sliders to play with and tweak, leading to some really cool looking characters, or more commonly, monstrosities that are in full display in the Battle Hub. The Hub area is a trend that a lot of fighting games are following, popularized by things like the Arc System games. You can do many things there, like play against someone else at a cabinet or spectate ongoing matches, battle other players' avatars, chat with other people, visit shops to buy clothes and accessories, and having those classic games in the corner of the lobby just feels like a labor of love to include. You don't have to deal with Battle Hub if you don't want to. You can access similar features outside of the hub, but personally it'll be fascinating to jump in and see some of Street Fighter's biggest sweats and freaks in there showing off their rewards. Then we have Fighting Ground. It serves as a menu to get to the meat of the game. It has an arcade mode where you can fight CPU through a 5 or 12 fight ladder to further unlock story and artwork for that character. You have your normal 1v1s and team battles with great presentation. It has this big fight feel before a match that I can't help but get hyped for.
I'm ready for a fight when it's on, it's on. I'm charging like a bull when it's on, it's on.
Extreme battles remind me a lot of Mortal Kombat's Test Your Luck mode. It's a cool addition to have for good casual fun, but I don't see myself playing it very often. Some of the win conditions just aren't too fun to me, with the exception of Heaven or Hell. The gimmicks on the other hand are pretty fun and can cause some real chaos. I don't hear many people mention this, but the replay system is really good. It lets you search up any matchup in any specific rank. So let's say you want to try a new character. You go to the replay list and look up a character at a high rank and see how those much better players are controlling those characters. Maybe you see a nice combo you want to make your own, or just implement the fundamentals that they use into your own game. Really impressive stuff. There are also clubs you can join to meet like-minded individuals. You can make club uniforms to represent your club in the Battle Hub, which is a small detail I enjoy. Finally, the online modes where you can make rooms with specific settings, start a casual or ranked match. I already stated how good the addition of individually ranked characters is, but also crossplay with all platforms is a godsend to fighting games, and I think it is a necessity in this day and age. The netcode is dramatically improved here, especially compared to Street Fighter V's first rollout of rollback. And more good news for the online is that this game is also on Xbox, unlike Street Fighter V. So I can definitely see this game having a healthy player base for years to come. Next, I want to go over some concerns I see people express online. First is that costume 2 for each character is sold in the shop, and people think it'll be an MK11 situation where it'll take weeks to unlock costumes. This just isn't the case. All you have to do in World Tour is reach max bond with a character. The easiest way that I've found to do this is grabbing a food buff that grants extra money and go do a hard mode version of a minigame. The one I chose was the board breaking minigame. Each run takes about 1 minute and you can earn 10k if you do it decently. Do that about 9 times and you now have enough to buy a character's favorite gift item and quickly get their bond level to 100. This process will take you only about 15 minutes per character. Another subject of concern that I've seen is the fighter pass, and rightfully so. Battle passes generally ask for the two most important resources in your life: money and, more importantly, time. We still don't know the content of the pass, how much it'll cost, the grind, etc, etc. At the time of this review, Capcom still hasn't revealed any of that information, but I do hope for something reasonable. As for my own personal nitpicks with the game, with the emphasis on new players, I wish they delved deeper into characters' backstories to further familiarize people with them, make them more involved in the main plot of the game. I feel like this was the right time to really flesh out character backstories and help new players get further invested in them. Also, I'm not entirely sure the music player is fully in the game yet, as I didn't unlock the feature, or any tracks for that matter, in World Tour. Also, an issue that we see way too commonly are the tutorials not being engaging enough to new players. They typically skip it and have the common complaint that it's too much reading and too much to remember all at once. I'm not entirely sure how they can improve on that front, but it's an issue a bunch of fighting games still face today. Over the course of this review, I've mentioned Street Fighter V a lot, but I think it's important to overstate just how right Capcom got it this time around. I drew many comparisons because I don't want the tainted legacy that game had on a launch to affect the perception of such a masterful turnaround to the wider audience. So overall, Street Fighter VI is an impressive leap in the series. Although the subpar story left much to be desired, it does not take away from everything Capcom has been able to accomplish here. It's a competent, intense fighter for the competitive player and is a feature-rich game for people who just want to delve into single-player content. All the things like the fun, goofy minigames, extra modes, and the focus on bringing in new players shows passion, care, and thought behind the game. The new exciting drive system and the great online netcode makes this one of the best Street Fighters ever. If you have never tried a Street Fighter or are a longtime fan of the series, this game is a must buy and earns its $60 price tag. My final grade for Street Fighter VI is a 9 out of 10. Capcom has always been great with supporting Street Fighter for a very long time. I'm very excited for the future, as these games tend to receive updates and newer versions, adding new supers, skills, characters, cosmetics, and more. It makes me wonder what they'll add or change here. Are they going to add more drive options or give us more supers to pick from? We already have confirmed DLC characters for year 1 coming in the future in Aki, Rashid, Ed, and Akuma. I have no doubt this is going to be one of the best selling Street Fighters in a long time. It really feels like they listen to fan feedback and learn from past mistakes, and I'm hoping that continues. If they do so, this game can easily be an all-timer for the franchise. I am now a bigger Street Fighter fan than I've ever been, and look forward to seeing it grow in the future. Thanks for watching, like the video, and subscribe for more reviews.